Okay, let's start some trouble. Um let's go. Okie dokie. Let me get a few things set up before I get started. Turning off the speakers would be tight. All right. Moody. We have arrived. I know I just spoke to you, but also, how are you? But we get in here, babies. Krug, thank you for pre-ordering the vinyl. Thank you. How you feeling? How's the wifey? Rocking and rolling. It's good. It's been kind of not gross today, but it looks like it's gonna rain here in Columbus, Georgia, which is usually very relaxing. I'm about it. Hey, Adam. Man, today's well, I guess it's been kind of bittersweet. I'm not gonna lie, I get extremely overstimulated very quickly, and I'm not used to this many people hitting me up at one time on Instagram and Twitter. It's a good feeling, but it's also like, can I mute my phone? That's awesome that she has time off. I had a brain fart. I might be coming back to DC with Andrew very, very soon. Speaking of you guys, he asked me about something in the fall, and I'm like, I do need redemption. I do need to make up for the fact that like DC was the one show that I straight up could not play. I've had a lot of technical difficulties, but DC was the one time I straight up flopped. Came in, coach finally put me in the game, and I flopped the ball. Tried to shoot from half court, missed. Bricked. So hopefully I'll have some news on that pretty soon. But aside from that, yeah, vinyl pre-order came out today. One thing that's really cool is the vinyl, like the turnaround's gonna be pretty fast because of how we're doing it. Anjuna found a company that is using recyclable products to make the records, and they also I completely forgot this, but they like asked me to record some acoustic versions of the album, and I like completely forgot I did that. But if you pre-order the vinyl, you get credits for that, and you'll get to hear that really soon for everybody else. Scott, welcome and thank you. I'm really excited. This song is like, I want to say it was the second or third song that I ended up writing that I knew was going to be a part of the project, but it was also the hardest to mix. This is actually the only song on the album that Andrew Bayer mixed before he told me to get over it and stop being a big old baby. So like the project file that I'm going to show you today is not it's not the exact version that's in the album, especially with the mastering and all that, but it's pretty damn close, so I can still show you like the thought process and some of the like layering stuff that Andrew had me fix before he even like bothered to mix it. So this will be fun. Sorry, Tinlicker, you're muted. So yeah, I guess let's get into it if we're down. If you haven't heard the song already, um I'll just play through a little bit of it. I did open with this one a lot. So if you've been to any shows, you've definitely heard this. One thing, I'll just start with this. One thing that if I could pass on any bit of knowledge to anyone, that's doing dance music specifically, because this is not something that I typically do, but learned that I had to start doing just for the sake of efficiency, is in the project file, create radio and extended mixes like in the same project file. And like, if you have to make the extended a little further out, like do that. But this way, whenever the label asks you for an extended mix, you're not like, what was that? Because I was like, what's that? Never heard of her. So that was one of the first things I had to do. And this is one of two songs that actually has an extended mix. And it's kind of lazily done. I was just like, here, have some drums. But let me play a little bit of it really quick just to refresh the brain. And like I said, this has got like master meat. What does that fully say? Meat master flex over here. It's a weird mastering chain. And then I have a limiter, and that's it. Yeah, this is Ableton.
As your senses pull you closer to the sun, see it fading out.
Is it cool if I just burp right into the mic?
Right before your eyes. Nothing could have made me ready for this. And that it didn't keep me from my dreaming for the sake of it. Oh, my mistake was inviting all this. When all I seek is familiar bliss, to wake in return a familiar kiss. All I wanna feel. Oh, my mistake was in fighting for this. When all I seek is familiar bliss, to wake in return a familiar.
So yeah, that's. I mean, yeah. If you're here, I'm guessing whatever. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. It's repetitive. I didn't even bother to write a second verse for this because peanut brain. But I think let's go ahead and start with the drums first, because I think that's the first thing that I can remember something really important happening. Let's go over here. So the drums alone, master meat, shut up. Drink every time I have to tell Moody to shut up. So this is how the drums sound by themselves. That's just the kick and snare, and then with the tops. And the top end is carrying a lot of this. But one thing that was it was so whack, is I was having such a hard time getting this kick drum to really cut through, and this is what it sounded like before by itself. Let's play by itself. Like for months, the song had been done for so long, and it had the kick sounding like this. And I was wondering why it was like, it sounded really great and bottom heavy because the bass doesn't really take up a lot of low end. But I was like, I can't really get it. It's not really like punching the way I need to. And then Andrew told me that I needed to add a transient on top of it. In this case, like a 909 click. And it just adds a little bit of that. It adds a little bit of to the kick. And it's really nice. So it's not much. It's just to add a little top end to it that helps it get in there with the rest of my sons, who you will meet shortly. Very simple beat, honestly. It's the same thing all the way through. Very, very, very simple. And I have 3 layers of kick, which is pretty common. I'm not a great sound designer, but the way I try to compensate is by mixing samples with EQ and attack placement. No, it's not a time. It's not that. It's just me being a lazy songwriter. So then on the snares, I noticed this the other day when I was listening to his Subtract's debut album, and I was like, I didn't realize how much that album subconsciously affected what I like about snares. Like, don't get me wrong, I love drum and bass and dubstep and music that has like really fat, just like super in your face snares where they're probably the loudest in the mix. But I typically end up using a lot of rim shots and like really, really tight snares. And that was the case in this for sure. It's like just a few different types of rims. And like I said before, one of the biggest things that I do with each of these is changing the attack on it. So some might not be hitting as hard as the rest. And there's a lot cleaner way to do this with audio, but I just like playing my drums in a lot of the time. And this is a way I get around them feeling like too muddy or that they're like kind of clashing with each other, but I want the frequencies that they have or the tonality that they have. But these are like, I typically just use splice samples for most of these things, but or the Ableton stock library is really good too. And then I want to say a 909 snare for the build, an 808. Just kidding. Is it a mix of both? Oh, she had Audacity. Why did I do that? This is half the fun of track breakdowns because I get to look back and think like, what was I thinking? So I have an 808, a 909 filtered out, and then this like other snare that's like high passed. And the delay sounds ridiculous too. The delay is not okay. It's too much. It sounds fine in the song, but I have those layers. I have a bit of reverb, and then over here I have a delay send that's being automated. So the more the song is building up, the more delay is getting pushed through the song. So it starts off kind of. That's such a bad reverb. I can't believe that. Yeah, I can. So yeah, very simple, very, 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 very simple. And then I have claps because always layer claps because sometimes the rims. It's funny because I'm like I always need tight rim shots or snares, but then I'm like it still feels empty, so I'll layer claps. And there's some white noise in here too. Something that I do a lot of Rickroll. Hi Ryan, what's up? One thing, I also layer the hell out of claps, as you can see. But something that I like to do a lot is I'll use white noise instead of something like hi-hat or percussion to push a rhythm, which is kind of what I did in this. I do it with a few different items, but you can definitely hear it with this. And then I also will have something like a snap or one of the claps having a really long reverb tail on it so that it has a more defined like presence on certain points. No, it happens all the time. If you look back on most of my like track breakdowns, it's like, oh wait, what? They let me get away with that? What? Yep, they did. Like the remix I did for Cree, the mix down for that is so suspicious. And I'm like, y'all let me do that. Yeah, okay. Okay, it's fine. Everything's fine. So next up I have some hats. I have a lot. This was bad. This was also very not smart. Don't pay attention to the panning of any of this either, because this is not, just don't. Just do as I, just don't do anything. Don't. Okay, so I have one that's very like soft. I have a few different textures going on. I want to say this one's the like harder. It's still like higher in frequency, but it's got a little more transient to it. Just a straight up shaker. and then an actual hi-hat sample. Which, if I get really stuck on a song, I like to use some hi-hat loops to help figure out the kind of pocket that I want, and I'll shift them around in timing. So I'll do something like that and shift it around to see how the flow feels, and it changes up the groove in really cool ways. So altogether, that's this. Oh, including my little percussion. These are cute. There's another situation where I'll take a loop and I make a really small section and scoop around to see how it fits in with the rest of the groove that I have going on. Very, very, very quick, easy way to get your drums just like having some cool, interesting pockets when you don't really feel that inspired. And then who's this guy? Oh, I think this is my favorite. It's a contact instrument with what? Really? Okay, so this is a vintage drum. I'm sorry you can't see my plugins, my third-party plugins, but it's a contact drum machine that's just making little sounds. So you could probably just do that with operator if you're bad. If you're a baddie. So yeah, that's all my drums. Like I said, it's really very, very, very simple. I have one thing. I do have a drum bus on my kick. I always do that. And I high-passed a bit because all my top end is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for that. And then I guess lead synth is acting up. So then we can go into the lead vocal. Vocals are my favorite. Vocals are so much fun. Once I have lyrics down, I get into this weird habit of wanting to just add so many stacks. And the way I think about it, because I used to have a really bad habit of thinking of vocals like guitars, where when you track guitars, you'll typically do double takes and then pan them left and right, like really wide, so that the guitars feel wide. And so I would apply that same concept to vocals, where I would do doubles and then spread them really, really wide, which sometimes just didn't really feel right in the mix. And so what I do instead now is my leads, like these, for example,
oh, my mistake wasn't fighting for this.
That's cool. I kept the demos.
Oh, my mistake wasn't fighting for this.
I have some that are centered. Like my lead vocals will always be at the most maybe 15, 20 pan left and right. And then as I get higher and higher in my range, I'll spread it out wider in the mix. So all the backing vocals, they're pretty they're in my falsetto. And from what I remember, they're spread out a lot wider. And that's something that I do every time on purpose.
Oh, my mistake wasn't fighting for this, when all I seek is familiar bliss.
And I'll also this is something that Matt told me, where it's if the higher, this doesn't apply for everything, but the higher in frequency, for example, my vocals are, the more I'll compress them. So my leads will have a lot of dynamic and a lot of body. They'll have a lot more low end. And then I'll typically mix everything else vocal wise a lot heavier. I'll do a lot more compression. I'll use a lot more space effects like reverb and delay, so that it feels like it's just kind of hugging around the lead vocal. And together it sounds really fun.
Oh, my mistake wasn't fighting for this, when all I seek is familiar bliss.
Think so.
To wake and return a familiar kiss, all I wanna feel.
Lots of delay. Lots and lots and lots of delay. And compression. I use a lot of drive. It's to a fault. I use too much vocal distortion, but there's not much to that really. Hey Jordan. Oh my god, I haven't said your name with a J in so long. Sorry, Jordan, what's up? Wow, I had a streak going and I ruined it just now. But yeah, lyrically, this song was super like straight to the point. Like the verses are straight up a rip from Outer Wilds, where it's like, as your senses pull you closer to the sun, seeing it fading out right before your eyes, which is literally the like every 30 minutes the sun explodes in the game. But it's cool because in the game you're given this task of discovering this civilization and finding out its meaning and its purpose, and even the creator of this universe that you're in, you're trying to find out how much it like values you as a character. And every now and then it comes into play of like whether or not that even it matters, or if it even is a thing. And I kind of play on that in this song. Hey Dave. But yeah, I kind of play on that with this song, where in a sense of like feeling is gonna get sad. Okay, I have a really rough. It's not even rough. It's just that I don't talk to my family all that much. Maybe just because I felt like way too different than everyone else, but I've kind of like lost touch with a lot of them. But every now and then when I do get to reconnect, I'm always like really taken aback by how much story that I miss out on in my family's life. And a part of me is like, well, I don't know if I'd be in the exact same position if I was super involved in the story that they defined for themselves and for me. But at the same time, I have this sense of longing for wanting to understand more about where I came from. And so that's kind of what the song is about. It could be tied to like a love story, and sometimes in my mind it does, but more often than not, I think about like my mom or my grandma when I think about this song. Jovi, thank you. Majora's Mask, I never did. That sounds like it'd be fun. Okay, let's move on to the bass. The bass is super fun. Reva's about to clean his bike outside. The bass is super fun. I've got like a few different layers going on. So for the most part, it's very simple in the beginning. I just have a sub that I either sample with a splice plugin. In this case, it's the Marabou State sample pack, which I ran through on this album, used it so much. Or I'll just use Ableton's operator, because usually that and erosion or some like a distortion work just fine. It's like literally all you need. And so like, ooh, that's another thing, that clipping ass sidechain. Who let me do that? Those pops are not allowed. But having those going on, and then in the actual drops, I just giving it some body to the rest. But the other bass lines I have are kind of gross, and in fact I don't really remember how I got the sample for this. I don't know where this came from at all. But I liked the texture of it. It's very how do you say that in English? How do you say in English? If someone could please comment below. But I liked the top end of it, and the bounce and the percussive element to it. I thought it was really cool. And then this second one, which I'm guessing is doing the same thing. Yeah. Thanks, Sennheiser. And it's got more of a womp, 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 womp feeling to it. So together, it's kind of interesting, and that holds up a lot of the mids and lows, and then together. And another thing is like, how do these all three work together? It shouldn't. It doesn't work together. Oh my gosh, so messy. To be fair though, like I said, this is the this isn't the final. This was like after making a bunch of critiques that Andrew gave me, and then this is, like I said, this is the only song he mixed before he told me to get over myself and just finish it. Majora's Mask also has a time loop. Ooh. A Nintendo presentation. That sounds like my jam. I've been holding off on playing the new Kirby just for stream, because I'm like, I feel like that should be something that we just enjoy together. Um. Okay, this lead is it's a very finicky boy. One side, I doubled this the same way I would with guitars. I do this all the time with like my leads, my vocals, anything that I want to be the forefront at any point, I typically end up doubling in some way, shape, or form. And on top of that, I'll use 2 different sounds for each. Because like ideally in a guitar perspective, you want to have like if you have a really distorted, crunchy guitar on one side, in order to like keep the interest and make things a little like more fun, maybe on the other side you'd have something really chorusy or like clean with some reverb on it or delay, but it gives it this really nice contrast. And I don't even remember what I did for this, but I know the Chrome Sparks lead was very like rippy. And wobbly, very lo-fi. Adding, ooh, yeah, okay, yeah. I was gonna say, because I added, the chorus was one thing, but what makes this interesting is the tremolo, like here. I forgot about that. And just automating it to kind of breathe with the rest of the song. I completely forgot about that. That Byte plugin, though, is that the Byte? I think that's making it bug out. Yeah. And then the other lead sounds like this. And it's pretty damn close. Just a little more, it's got a little more high end taken off. Almost to the point where it's not necessary. Lou, what were you thinking? Very cute. Very driven. I've got reverb to the gods. To the point where it does that. I love how I think that's still in the song too, that like weird glitching out because it ended up just working. Guitar rig is fine. I still use guitar. I mean, I'm using Guitar Rig 6 now, but there's nothing wrong at all with that. Especially because you have components. You can it's not like you're stuck with the presets that they give you, which are also great, but you can also just use like an amp or a cabinet or the pedals that they have there, and it's great. Like they emulate really well. Yeah, no, 6 is kind of fucking insane. It's great. So the sample, I'm really glad I didn't bounce these to audio because what makes the musical elements of this so special is I played it in, and it's one of those things where if I'm really stuck for an idea, I'll dig around for a splice loop and I'll throw it into simpler, not sampler, and like play it in. Sampler is cool if I want to do granular stuff or if I wanted to like extend notes for a really long time. But with simpler, you can like play things like a drum pad. And in this case, like you can just take a normal piano chord progression and like make its own pattern. And with this one, it's the same thing. And it's got a little bit of drive on it. They both do. This one's an actual synth. I'll mix them with actual synth. This is, I want to say, a Contact synth. Maybe? No. Okay. No, it's definitely another sampled chord progression. Which works out great over here too. I'll use them in really percussive ways, and it makes it fun to play in, and two, it like creates something really unique. And now I'm thinking like, how the hell would I come up with that? this is an actual synth from Contact. Let me see. Again, I'm sorry I don't have it set up to where you can see my plugins, but I'm using Analog Dreams from Native Instruments, which also got ran through. I used Analog Dreams for so much of this record to give it that like Outer Wilds synthy tone. What's this? Same vibes, like finding a splice loop and just like chopping it to the gods. I feel like this gave it a lot of voice. More than you'd expect. Native Instruments is fantastic. They've carried my career for the past 2 years. This is just a Marabou State sample. Yeah, that happens to me a lot because I don't remember 5 minutes ago. Okay, and then finally, another way that I'll start... There's way too many... Okay, there's... Either if I need some help starting a song, or if I feel really, really stuck because I spent too much time on like drums and bass and haven't written a vocal yet. Something that I'll do... and this is I think this is in Deadmau5's masterclass, but I'll start making a bunch of pads and drones, either through granular synthesis, or in this case, I ran Contact's Analog Dreams into the ground. There's also another, no, these are all Analog Dreams. Let's see. Yeah. Except for one. They're all Analog Dreams patches and presets, really. I didn't make patches in that plugin because they all sounded great. But I have the pads sort of playing out my chords for me. So usually I'll have one that's just a flat drone, like in this one. And then any other notes that I add as I keep stacking pad sounds, the way I kind of help keep them from making the mix really hard to deal with, is I'll have them in different frequencies. They'll have different timbres. I'll have them harmonize with each other, which can get really fun and inspiring, like this. And then have another one, so it makes a whole chord. But it doesn't feel it still feels like one sound. I kind of think about this the same way I would with vocals, where like when you add stacks, it gives you the freedom to not just create chords, but kind of like play with the dynamic and feel of a song by using single notes in each instrument, and it's just fun. And then I have this sample doing his best, I guess. Thank you, sir. What's this? Oh yeah, dude, this sound is so pretty. Hold on. I remember this sound driving me insane. I was about to have a fit, screaming, crying, throwing up, getting so mad at this sound because I wanted it to work so bad. I wanted it to function so bad, like loud. I wanted it to be loud as fuck. Like, it's just a pretty progression, but it didn't quite fit in the mix very well at all. See, it's not supposed to be there. It's really not. And so I have a lot of that low end cut out. I have it compressed to the gods. I have an auto filter, like kind of automating in and out. Glue compressed to the gods, even though it's turned off, and then reverb to the gods to kind of just like tuck it way, way, way back in the mix, because I knew I wanted it there so bad. I wanted it so bad just because there's something about the progression where sometimes it slips out and sometimes it doesn't, but when it fits really nicely. And I remember for weeks I was like, I'm keeping the sound. I'm just like, if I have to rewrite a whole section of the song, then I will, but I mean, we just ended up tucking our kids into bed. And then I guess the effects aren't really all that impressive because they're always, I use the same shit. It's very rare that I'll like do I do have a few patches that help me like do cool custom lasers and stuff, but for the most part I don't really overthink my buildups or like transition effects. I just like, it's no one's gonna be able to tell the difference. I will say the Chrome Sparks pack was really helpful. Really pretty, bubbly stuff. And that one, I love this sound. That one's like super definitive in the song. And there's a few like that actually help like give the song some identity. Don't remember that. Don't remember doing that at all. But otherwise it's just little crashes and things. Now I will say one thing that helps me a lot with understanding when to add effects is I'm pretty sure I did it with this song where I'll look at a reference track and kind of see how an artist applies them, because obviously they're like, you can put them when you're introducing a new section of the song, like whether you're going into a breakdown or you're going into a build up or drop or whatever. But in between those times, to kind of keep the song interesting, I'll like listen for kind of like syncopated effects and then just start to kind of push things a little differently. So like in this case where it's like not right on the, hold on, make sure I'm not talking out of my ass. Yeah, so it's mainly just getting something to kind of catch your interest before the next part of the song comes in, or like just to keep the groove interesting. Like here, little like synths or a cymbal or something. If you look at reference tracks, you'll kind of hear where people go into it, and that's something that I've never been afraid of, like just straight up just copying, where it's like not even the sound itself so much as like the placement and arrangement. Like I'll go to other songs more so for arrangement references than I do for mixes, just to like see how you can clean up transitions, because a lot of the time like I'll come up with a really great drop or really great like verses and stuff and then have a really hard time blending them together. So effects are a great way to do that without like having to just write new sections of the song. That flute sample's like, it does sound like that, huh? This one? It does kind of sound like that. Is it the same one? I don't think it is. I'm trying to think of the sample pack. It was like a Juno or something. I don't know. But I mean, that's pretty much the song. And like I said, the master, don't pay attention to the master. It's just master meets. But this is the project that I ended up like grouping up and sending to Andrew for a final mix, and that's that on that. Cree's like, yeah, I was gonna say his is like, Cree like has a lot of synthesizers, like to a fault. The guy has a lot of really expensive synthesizers. But yeah, that's my song. That's really all there is to it. But I appreciate you guys. If you have any questions, we can kind of maybe do that. But I think, let me see. Switch over to this. Put on a beat or two. This song didn't take too long. Writing it didn't take too long. I want to say writing only took like a couple of weeks. But mixing it took forever, and it was mainly because of like I had a really hard time managing the kick drum and bass, and it ended up being that I needed to add some top end to the kick drum to fix it. Not really as far as like the song. There's not much that I would change about the song other than it's like whenever I look back on stuff, I get really upset about how untidy things are, like being more meticulous about going in and making sure there's no clicks and pops, or like if I'm sidechaining things incorrectly and it's creating like weird cuts in music, or sometimes I'll be using a pitch corrector and that will like degrade the signals sometimes. So it's like usually I'll get really upset at myself for not being more meticulous about that, and this is one of those songs where I can hear like a lot of just really sloppy mistakes. But like I don't know, the album as a whole is pretty like messy, which kind of like gives it its character. But yeah, so I guess just to update, aside from the album stuff, I'm gonna be streaming every Wednesday from now on, but it's gonna like alternate. So like this week I was on my channel, but next week I'll be with Anjuna. So it might be beneficial to do like a feedback stream or something like that. I feel like that'd be fun. Or I don't know, I haven't decided yet. Or I might just play a set, who knows. But I feel like a track breakdown, the last time I did that I had a really great time and people showed me a lot of cool music. So yeah, done is a lot better than perfect. And one thing that is crazy is like when you spend so much time on a project, your perception of it gets so distorted. And I like there was like weird sections of last year where I hated this album so much. I just didn't like it. I didn't think it was worth at the time. I didn't think that like it was worth the opportunities I was getting. And it was mainly just because I was listening to it way too much. And when I had a break from it, or when I played it at, like took a break and like went to go play shows and stuff and heard my music in a different context, it made it like it was like just helpful to get myself out of my head. Probably I guess my thing is like they want me to do a live set pretty soon, but if I DJ for them, I'm gonna have to do some weird maneuvers with my live gear because I don't have a controller, but I can do like an APC set or something, which they can be fun. So I'll work it out and keep you guys in the loop. Of course, Instagram and Twitter are the easiest to like look for updates. I'm trying to be better about posting to Twitter because that seems to be the easiest to kind of just like stay in touch with everybody. But yeah, thank you guys for pulling up and watching this stream. I'm gonna leave this up for anyone if you want to like dig through the project again. But yeah, dude, playing shows like completely changes perspective. Tutorials are extremely overwhelming, and my only suggestion is don't watch them unless you know exactly what it is that you're trying to achieve and why you're adding it to a song. So don't look up like how to sound like Yado. Don't look up how to sound like how to pitch a song to Anjunadeep. Don't do that. Like try thinking like if you can think of like the specific sound you're looking for, like if you can look up an artist based on like, hey, I really need to figure out how to make a respace, then look it up for that so that you can stay objective, because a lot of the time like you start to compare to something that doesn't exist, and tutorials are a really easy way to get into that headspace and it not be helpful in any way. So yeah, that's my main thing is like don't look at tutorials unless you know exactly what you need to keep the song going. And if you really need inspiration, like I'll watch documentaries or like recaps of bands either playing live or working on their own records, because that can be really inspiring, and that's very different than like looking up how to do like finish a song or do something that's meant to sound like someone else, because that doesn't really help you with your story, if that makes sense. Yeah, it is. It's tricky because you want to share good art, and that requires a very like, it requires some discipline. It requires like some effort to kind of like be very meticulous and organized, but at the same time like I've noticed a lot of the actual writing process will be very free, and there's no expectation when you're actually writing and trying to get as much of the idea out as fast as possible. And then after that, then like mixing and all of that, then yeah, sure, like look up as many tutorials as you want. But yeah, cooking show when that would be really, that's a good idea. I've been wanting to do chicken soup, like a chicken tortilla soup, really bad. Maybe I can do that not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after. A cooking stream would be really fun, but it'd be easier to do that. Wait, I gotta work. Let's see. We'll work it out. We'll work it out. Where's Lily? Is she sleeping in my bed? I don't want to. Actually, wait. I might be able to do something. It was really good soup. That's all you get. I like forgot that I can move. I can like just take my phone and. But yeah, Vietnamese food would be tight. Oh my god, should I make pho? Pho's a good idea. Yeah, Lily's fine. She's doing good. I think a cooking stream would be a great idea. Maybe we can take a vote on what to make. Soup sounds like a move. You don't want Lily singing on this record. That's a fact. She sounds like. That's how she sounds. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go get ready and pack because I gotta leave for Canada tomorrow to join Ben's tour. The old Ben Boomer. That's this tour. This weekend's gonna bust my ass. Oh my god, it's gonna hurt. But we got this. Everyone, just relax. We got this. I'll try to get a bunch of videos and share. Of course, I'll share on socials, but I'm trying to actually like get clips to share on YouTube as well, so that we can like geek out. But thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for pre-ordering the record. Thanks for giving me the time of day. Thanks for just making me feel very, very special, because you are. But yeah, I'll see you later. Be safe, be well, and enjoy your weekends. I'll talk to you next Wednesday, or sooner than that. Whatever. Bye.